Hey guys, Dakota here with the Building Collective. I'm back out at the Spearfish project. We're just wrapping up, doing final touch-ups, walking through with the homeowner, making sure everybody's happy. And I want to talk to you guys today about heated floors. Now there's a couple different options for heated floors. The most common that we do on our builds or remodels are electrical heat through a system like Schluter that is running back to your electrical panel. And the other option that is really popular, especially if you're going slab on grade, is going to be the radiant in-floor heat through the PEX tubes and using water glycol mix. And there are two separate systems. You get some kind of pros and cons with both. And I wanted to just go through some of those here today. Now first, let's go over an electrical heated floor system. In this project, we did roughly 2,000 square foot of in-floor heat, all electric. And there's a reason for that. One is it's a remodel, not a new build. Typically on new builds, we're trying to incorporate slab on grade and do the radiant in-floor in the floor. Remodels, a lot of times we're having to resort to the electrical in-floor heat. And the main difference between the two is that the electrical in-floor heat is heating the floor that is on it. So you feel the floor's warmth, but it's not necessarily heating the air above the floor. The slab radiant in-floor heat is heating not just the floor, but is also heating the space, it's heating the objects in the room, and it's kind of like electrical heat is maybe like the Mercedes, and the radiant in-floor heat in a slab might be more like a Ferrari system. So it's like you kind of are stepping up in grade, and also you have to plan a lot more for the slab on grade radiant in-floor heat. The electrical in-floor heat can be put through as usually, or a lot of times used in remodels because it is an afterthought. It's a way to kind of create that feeling of that warm floor without having to do some extensive site build out. Now the electrical in-floor heat, it's just all getting run off of an electrical circuit coming from the panel to the space that is getting the tile floor. It's running off a thermostat right over here. And there's a couple different options for thermostats. You can program it for certain times of the day. You can have it on, you can have it certain temps, certain times. You can track how much usage you're using for just knowing what the cost is of running that in-floor heat. And overall, it's a really good option for any type of remodel or maybe another space that doesn't have a concrete slab to run a PEX line through and to have the radiant in-floor heat. So we're using them in, like I've said, remodels. We're also using them typically on second or third floors or first floors that are on maybe a crawl space where there's no concrete. Still want the in-floor heat, but maybe the space is getting heated in general by forced air. So we'll run a system like Schluter's, just electrical in-floor heat to keep the floors warm, keep that comfortability higher for the client. They can have that feeling, and maybe the cost is also a little bit lower per square foot than having to install the concrete and doing all the prep and the work with that. Now with an electrical in-floor heat, the cost for the electrical wires that go on the floor and the uncoupling membrane are going to be relatively fixed across the country. Labor is going to vary depending on the area you're in. The other component of this assembly that varies a lot in cost is the electrician. Depending on where the panel's at, how far it's got to get run to the area you want to heat, especially remodels, you might be cutting out drywall, having to do patch repair, bringing in another contractor. And some of that is a big variation depending on your project and the location of the panel and the floor that's getting heated. Now in this project, we did so much heated floor that we actually had to add a sub panel in the basement, and we were able to run all the circuits out to the thermostats or the relays They're all going to be 2 poles here because we're using the really big cables to get as much square footage as we could at a time. And so there was quite a cost in getting the sub panel and then getting, let's see, 2, 4, 7, 8 total circuits out for heated floors in this particular project. Typically, you're going to have 1 circuit for 1 thermostat. That's the most common across the country. You're going to have maybe a 100 square foot master bath, or you maybe have 150 to 250 square foot kitchen, something like that, that you're going to run 1 circuit to it and be able to cover the whole thing. Now let's talk radiant in-floor heat. Now this would be the PEX tubes getting run inside of concrete and getting filled with some sort of mixture of water and glycol something. Now this system is by far the best. It is going to be the most efficient. It's going to be the most comfortable, and it's also going to be the most expensive. And there are some reasons for that. One is there's a lot of prep. You're preparing a site. You're running the zones and for different areas. They're going to get heated to different thermostats. You're running all the piping. You're insulating underneath of that. You're dealing with putting a boiler in, typically, that can run that system of the heated floor, also in the potable hot water for the house or the shop or whatever you're building. So there's just a lot of moving pieces in it and a lot of different things that you have to plan and prepare for and purchase. Now when we do a new build, we are typically doing all that planning with our plumber or our HVAC guy ahead of time and communicating with you as a client to make sure that we're going to be able to heat zones the way you want them in accordance with your plans, your blueprints, all of that. And we're typically running all of the lines up to a manifold, and that manifold is getting driven by some sort of boiler system. Now, this one right now is kicking on for the recirc system in this house, where it is recircing hot water to the vanities, sinks, faucets, and those types of things, to where when you turn the water on at your sink or at your shower, you're going to have hot water within maybe 2-3 seconds. Super nice feature that we try to do in all our houses. And the other part of that, this one in particular, this house does not have the radiant in-floor heat. We put the heated tile floors in here. But if it was the radiant in-floor heat, this boiler would not just be for the hot water of the house. It would be a dual purpose system that also heats that in-floor heat water as well and runs those loops that generates that heat to come up through. Now those boilers are a little bit different. It's a 2-part system because we don't want the water from the in-floor heat to mix with the water that's coming out of your kitchen faucet. And so there's a little bit more complexity to the boiler that would go in those scenarios and in those projects, but it is very doable and something that we now do almost standard in our builds if there is concrete involved and some sort of living space. Lastly, I just want to say that the in-floor heat, while it may be an additional cost for your remodel or your build, it's definitely worth it. We have not put in-floor heat in for a customer and they regretted it afterwards. There's just a different level of comfortability that comes with the in-floor heat, whether that is the electrical heat or that is the water in the PEX tubing radiant in-floor heat. So it's 2 systems. They both work great. They have different cost points. They have different advantages and disadvantages, and they are something that you want to talk with your builder and plan for on your next project or your next build. If you have more questions or want more information about the in-floor heat systems, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about that and talk about your next project coming up and what is going to be best for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.